Welcome to Down Under in Thailand. Today's topic is building a small house on the farm. I know many people are interested in the subject of building in Thailand. Well, we started Touch Build and I'll show you what we did. There was an old dilapidated farmhouse which is still there, but it's in dire need of repair. The original vision, at least my vision, I sometimes smile and wonder if Mem's vision wasn't a bit more elaborate than mine, was to give a workspace for Mem to sort and process her cut flowers. A roof, freestanding structure with probably a concrete floor, a bit like a big open carport. It grew to very much more than that as we progressed. Originally this location had been prone to flooding, very bad flooding, but had gradually been raised with fill to overcome this problem. First, the driveway had 2 fills to raise it from flooding. We prettied that up by putting a steel trellis up over it, which would put shade cloth on and give us some shade for the car when it was, or motorcycles when they were parked there, but also to grow some stuff up. We grew a passion fruit vine up that which took off quite solidly. Then Mem wanted the area beside the driveway raised up even further to make a good area to grow flowers, up and out of the wet for her budding flower business in the market. It took quite a few truckloads of fill to actually get that up to the level that was necessary, but we did that. At times we actually had that area lit up with fluorescent lighting to give a few extra hours of light to force growth in the flowers so that she'd have enough volume of flowers for her business in the market. We also put some fill along the roadway to try and get rid of some of the other flooding issues, but that was a separate topic. The flowers soon outgrew the area that we put aside for them. We couldn't get the volume that she needed for sale, so we moved those elsewhere to another location on the farm, which left this open area. It was then that we decided to build a covered utility area, as I described before, on that raised land. So we set off on the project, and Thailand's brother, DJ Hass, who lives in the next farm, said that he was happy to do that, so we got him underway building that. He put in the uprights and cemented in the footings. Then soon he had the framework built and the O-frames and structure for the roof, which he sheeted. I don't have any pictures of that for you, but you can see the structure in the photos. A few months went by till I eventually arrived back in Thailand and was actually able to see the structure for myself, which I did, and I'm quite happy with that. It was a lot bigger than I expected. It's 9 meters in width and 13 meters total in depth. So that was all good. I'd only been back a few days and we decided to spend a day in Mukdahan, which is a city north of where we're situated, about 40 minutes drive. It's been a great sunny day, we had a great time there, and on the way home in the afternoon, early evening, it got really overcast and dark and started to rain. And the closer we got home, the harder the rain got and the stronger the wind got. It was raining solidly when we pulled into home. We were only out of the car a few minutes and the wind increased even further to gale proportions and the heavens literally opened. Wood was pouring off the gutters and the wind was whistling through the place. Eventually it subsided and I can't remember if it was me or Mem got a notification on her mobile, a Facebook notification, and there, lo and behold, were photos showing a tree down across the road lying on the power lines close to the entrance or driveway to the farm, and another photo showing the roof sheeting on one side of the structure he'd built had all been peeled back by the strength of the wind. That wasn't a good moment, but what can you do? You just say, oh, yeah, right, okay, what do we do? So we'd been talking about putting a front porch or veranda on that structure prior to it getting damaged the way it did. So Mem called a cousin of hers, an older cousin who had a building team, and he came in to build the front veranda structure, and at the same time he repaired and replaced the sheeting and strengthening which had given way and peeled back on the structure. Our intention was to put concrete in there too, and that was part of his contract, so he got underway doing that a few days after fixing the sheeting. And so we're back moving forward again. We had the extension on the front and we had the concrete down. Here you can see the finished concrete pour. It's still wet. That was just finishing that day. And then we had a summer shower and a Rambo to signal that all's well. No more storms to dampen our parade. So from there, the next day, Talani was unwell and she went into home isolation for 7 days. She was living upstairs and having her meals left at the top of the stairs, while myself and Ern, number 2 stepson, were living downstairs and taking care of daily life. So I'd been taking care of the watering of the flowers, cutting along the fence lines, through the rubber tree plantation and around the lemons. There was plenty to keep me going while Talani was all caught up and not able to do that. Here's a video of the drive to the farm. I may have said previously the farm's only a kilometre and a half away. They're probably more around the 2 kilometres. I've never really mentioned it. It might be of interest to you. You get to see what a farm or rural roads look like in Thailand. This is the road going out towards the farm, which is only barely a couple of kilometres away from home. Some people have four-wheel drives and they're scared of a hole in the road. Sure, you don't hammer through them, but some of them go through them so slowly you wonder why they bother having a four-wheel drive. That's what its capabilities are on rough roads. And just here we turn right out towards the actual farm itself. Until 3 years ago, this was a dirt road. It was always quite messy. But they put bitumen on it. But that happened because my wife's brother was actually working as, I guess you'd call him a sort of a Shire representative. He was a assistant to the Puyai Barn, working for the Ampur, which is like the Shire Council for the province. So he managed to actually get the road to go out past his house, which is just beyond the farm. He gets knocked around a bit by trucks carting landfill and things, where people are either cutting dirt out of paddy fields for rice, or putting in fields, lift it up for building a house or something above the water line when it gets really wet. It gets quite overgrown on the sides too, and they have to cut it off. Half a dozen times a year they come out with a truck with the big cutting machines on it and mow it down. And the tractors go along and scrape the edge and get the dirt back from the bitumen. Now we just go up over this rise and it goes down to a 90 right, and that's the actual start of my wife's farm property. There's a group of dogs here that just sleep in the middle of the road all the time. And they don't get up until the last second. So right at this corner is the back border of my wife's farm. It starts there, that's the corner, that's the back boundary. And then all of this on the left, built properly. You see the divisions, well, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4 across is the width of the farm, at the old farmhouse, and then there's the new building that we're putting up at the moment and we've been working on, and then the property ends at that next 90 left up there. But this is going into the gate of the property here. Hold this phone steady, and there's the structure we built, which is now repaired. And we'll park in here, find a gap to open the door. That's the structure which was damaged, which has now been repaired over there in that corner. That was all peeled back, and we put this extra bit out the front, and we laid 7 cubic meters of concrete in it. So it's sort of a reasonable size. The front boundary, there's something going past. Each one of those divisions is 3 meters. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12 meters that way. It's about 8 or 9 wide. And there's one of the dams down there. That's the newer dam. Sorry, no, that's the old, the middle-aged dam. And then there's a new one that it cuts just 2 years ago, which is about 3 times the size. Which is that one there. And that's all part of the property over there. And over there behind is a really, really old farmhouse. So now a week had passed, and the guys were back, at this time, to put some walls up. So the roof structure with a concrete floor was now going to have some walls to keep the wind out. And here, as you can see, they're about 4 quarters high on the walls. So telling myself, headed back off to Mukdahan to a big hardware store there, where we purchased the windows because they were going to be needed on the 5th course of bricks. It started to look like a real house. On the next morning, the rear wall was started, so a door frame was needed. I played gopher again and headed off to the local town to buy a frame. The front brickwork went in at about the same time. We had 3, sometimes 4 guys on the team, so they were working in separate areas. At this point, we had the glazier come because we were going to need 3 front sliding glass and aluminium doors. So he came to quote and measure for those, but I had to return to Australia at that point. A week after I left, the glazing went in. Suddenly had the guys add an internal wall, creating another separate room inside, and the rendering was done inside and out. The raw concrete floor needed to have ceramic tiles laid. So the small house went from a roofed covered area to a small house very quickly, and I'll have more videos as we continue with the build. I'll try to give you some idea of outlay further down the track in later videos. By all means, leave a comment or add any questions you may have in the comment section down below. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, also down below. It will both help me to create more content, create future videos for you to watch, and also it'll ensure that you get notified when I do. The build will continue when I return. See you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.